Welcome back to the Awakening Potential Show. This is a space where ordinary softens and extraordinary is allowed to emerge. I'm Karen Rudolph, your host of the Awakening Potential Show, and this is a show for, I like to say, it's embodied leaders. It's people who have been caring a lot. They've learned a lot, but they realize, excuse me, that there's so much more, not more to do, rather more to remember. So here we talk about awakening as a concept rather than as a lived experience. So through real stories, embodied wisdom, and conversations that meet life where it actually is. So this is where sassy confidence meets classy wisdom and bold badassy brilliance gets to be experienced without apology. So take a breath, lower your shoulders, and give yourself permission to be fully here. So today I'm so honored to share the space with someone whose journey reflects the heart of this work. And I so align with it. And when I met Dr. Pat, it was just instantaneous. I knew that we were kindred spirits on the same path, the same mission, and I'm sure we just do it differently. However, we do it, the end goal is the same. So my guest, Dr. Pat Barrington, shares. Sorry, she's a dream builder. I had to think about that one. She's a
Yes.
dream builder and life mastery consultant. She's certified through the Brave Thinking Institute, and she supports women in remembering who they are, awakening the clarity and confidence, and redesign their lives into truly love, right? Because for me and you, that's all there is, right? So it's never too late to design your life. And I've heard, and I'd love to speak more into it. I know Dr. Pat is also building a legacy project in Africa. We'll love to hear more about that, but we'll discuss that during the show. But in the interim, please give a warm welcome to Dr. Pat Barrington. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Karen. It's so awesome to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me on your show. I really do appreciate it and love to share with your audience. And I know that I can learn a lot from them as well.
Oh, we always learn from each other, right?
Yes.
So I know you and I have a lot of similarities, and I'm really curious, what got you started on your path? Who were you being as a child that, in essence, got you to where you are today? Was there a pivotal point that said, oh, what was your story? I'd like to hear a little
So let's go back to when I was a child. I was not an only child. I'm one of two, but I was very sick when I was young, and my parents took me in. And what I understood is that I was at the brink of death. And they stayed up in a circle, my grandfather, my grandmother, my aunts, and my uncle. And they passed me around in the circle, and they didn't think that I would live to see the next day. So my grandmother said, if I live to see the sun comes up, then I'd live. So they would just hold me and pass me around for each other to just cuddle me and help me. But after, when I became a young elementary school person, I
ask you real quick, where were you living at the time?
I was born in Kingston, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and that's
Okay.
where I grew up for 19 years.
Sorry.
Yes, and I went to elementary school over there and high school, and I came over here and I finished high school and I began my college education from here. But I remember as a child on the island, I was a dreamer, and I would walk around with my head down and I would listen, and I became a brownie at 7. And what they taught you is that you should help old people and you should help sick people. So I used to be delighted in helping the old people cross the pedestrian. And I remember seeing this one woman one time. I think she was an autistic person, but we didn't really have a lot of autistic people in the Caribbean at that time. And I said, and people thought that she couldn't learn. And I said to myself, when I get older, I'm going to be a teacher and I'm going to teach those people. And so I came to the United States, I got my degree, and I was an accountant for like 3 years. And then I met my son, and I realized I don't want to go leave my son and leave home early in the morning, come back late at night. So I was in the hairdresser, and this young lady was working with autistic children, and she said, "Oh, we get this, we get in the summer," and said, "Oh, that's an appealing job. I would like that job." She said, "Well, you'll have to teach autistic kids." And I said, "Well, I'm not that smart to teach autistic kids." Then she said, "No," and she described them to me. And I left my accounting job and I decided that I was going to do that. And you know what? That was the first step in me realizing the promise that I made to myself and I didn't remember. But
Yes.
when I went to do that job and I saw the autistic kids in their natural element, I was taken back. But then I said to myself, when I graduated from high school in St. Vincent, they gave me a little speech, and it says, "Whatever your hands find to do, that you do with all the might that is in you." And I said to myself in that room with those kids, whatever my hands find to do, I will do it with all the might that is in me.
I
And
love that.
I began to teach autistic kids.
I love that.
And then I got my master's and I began to feel a longing and discontent in my life that I wanted more. And then I began to have dreams and vision. And I remember, by now I have two kids and we moved to the suburbs.
Uh,
Now,
I want to interject for a moment, if I may. I don't want to skip over it because this, I think it's a very key point that you made, making the similarity to the promise that you made yourself years ago, right?
yes,
I too made a promise. I forgot about it. And all
yes,
of a sudden, for me, when I was looking for my passion and my purpose, there's never any coincidences. People show up for a reason or season, in your case, the hairdresser, to remind you who you were and of that promise. Right.
yes.
It wasn't that like a springboard for you?
No, it was a springboard, but you begin to get comfortable with my life. And then my marriage start going sideways. And then I start praying and asking the Lord, why am I here? What am I here to do?
Mhm.
What is my purpose? And I remember in April of 1999, my friends laugh at me because they keep telling me I remember the day, the time, and the hour. So April in 1999, I had a dream that I was somewhere out in the pastures and I saw these kids lying down on a cot in the open pasture, and there's this one little boy who's about the same age as my son at the time, and he was so skinny and there was a famine on. And I went and I rubbed his back and I started singing, humming a tune. And then I got up and moved away, and he mustered all the strength that he could get in his, because he was so emaciated, his body. And he grabbed my hand and put it back on his back. And I was sleeping in the middle of my dream. And I sat straight up in my bed. And my husband said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "I just had this dream." And I proceeded to tell him. He said, "Oh, it's just a dream." Went back to sleep. But do you know, on the 30th of April, I had that exact dream. And then I said, no, I have to do something. And then I heard and saw World Vision broadcast on Channel 13. And I picked up money from where I used to work and I sent it to these people because I was so touched and moved by what was happening. And then I decided I am going to do something. Caribbean people who lives in America usually pack these 33-gallon drums and send them back to their families.
Right.
I figure I can do that and send it to Ethiopia. But it wasn't that easy. And so I decided to have a concert. And then I decided to call the Ethiopian community in New York. And when the guy asked me if I was a movie star, I laughed. I said, "I'm only a special ed teacher in New York City." And so I invited him to connect me to somebody in Ethiopia so I could send this barrel. Then he told me it wasn't that easy, so he connected me to somebody in Washington, D.C., a connection in church. So I had this concert. I paid all this money to get people to come sing and rented a hall. And this guy came from DC. He was in the concert, and the money I made, I just counted out and gave it to him. And then I decided I was going to Ethiopia to see how this money is going to be spent. Karen, do you know when I got over to Ethiopia that the dream I had, the place where I went to meet the connection that the pastor in Washington, D.C. gave me, was under a tent, just like was in my dream.
Uh, that's talk about being touched. What I really got from your share, and I love this because a lot of people will get a dream like that and they won't act on it, right? Oh, it was just a dream. Go back to sleep, or just a dream. I'm not going to make it mean anything. But yet, for me as well, if I get it, I call it an intuitive hit. If I get it more than once, whether it comes as a dream in my heart, in my spirit, I know that that's a message for me to act. I had an experience once and I did not act. And I'm, from the lesson learned, but my
Yes.
heart was breaking at the moment because I did not listen. I was getting my hair done. I don't lack hair. I was getting my hair done, so it takes a little longer at the hairdressers. And I promised my youngest daughter that I would take her for a slice of pizza. Well, they had amazing pizza right around the corner from the hairdressers. And she was getting impatient. She's looking at me going, Mom, like, and they're doing whatever they're doing, and it takes a long time. And I spy a young girl. She must have been about 26 years old. She was so emaciated. She had an oxygen tank, and she was struggling to open her Gatorade at the time, and I'll never forget it. And I was going to ask my daughter to go over and support her, but it was almost like I had a nudge, like, go over and tell her she's going to be okay. And just as I was about to say, like, hold up a second to the hairdresser, as I was getting up, my daughter was like, you can tell she was really impatient and like, come on, back down. And I didn't act on it. And I got a second, go tell her she's going to be
Yes.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't do it. And I remember going back to my girlfriends at the time and saying, wow, this was so strong. I've never experienced anything like that. And she said to me, God puts it in your spirit for a reason. And if you don't follow through, you will never get it anymore. And I mean, she doom and gloom. And I went, okay, I made a promise. I said, if I ever get that again. So I always follow it now because that's the inner knowing, that's the intuition that is guiding us. And I
Yes.
believe personally we're all here to be of service. I don't believe it's, I mean, it's us getting to know ourselves to then and so
Yes.
and once that, and the closest way to bring us back to love, I believe. And then it becomes getting it out there in the world. And I really honor you for doing that and going the distance and actually seeing that was part of your dream. Amazing. So what happened once you got there and were you in shock when you saw this tent and like, or was it just like an
I
expectation?
was, oh my God, it's like this was in my dream, you know? And from there came down, I start paying attention more to my,
Mhm.
because nothing is by accident. And whether or not you can put your hands on it, and like I was a teacher and I taught these emotional, they were very smart kids, and they might not have been able to write as fast and think fast with the academics, but their world view was right on target. And I would say to them, you can be whoever you want to be. It doesn't matter whether or not there was somebody else before you who is that. And if you want to do something, it doesn't matter if somebody before did it. You're the first one who's going to do it. That's because God put it in you to bring it into reality. And one of the guys say, look, he's listening to me. And when I was done speaking, he looked up and he said, you think so, Miss Barrington? I said, yes, I think anything you want to do, you can do it. You just have to be able to express what you want and ask people to help you.
Yes.
And there are other people who have the pieces who could put it together to help you to create what God wants you to have. And
Yeah.
so moving forward, I became so intense with helping the hungry children in Africa, because when I went to that Ethiopian trip, I walked down from the hotel, which was a Holiday Inn. And when I came to the gate, which was like half a mile away, there were mother there stooped down. She had one child by the back, one in the front, and one by the side. And they were so hungry. And all she could, the kids' stomach were extended. The flies were all over. And I was hurt that I am in the school system in New York and we throw out so much food. And here these people, if they could just get one carton of milk, it will make such a difference. So from there on, I was on a mission. I established the organization, and people would talk to me in the church who went away on trips, and they would come back and tell me, oh, I give your number to this person in Kenya. And the person in Kenya would call me and ask me to support them. And so I went over to Kenya and I supported 3 different villages over there: Nairobi, Nakuru, and Kisii. And so right now I'm just working with the people in Nakuru. But I have been going back and forth for like years. It's not just before the pandemic I really stopped, because my mother got sick and I had to take care of all of that. So that's my mission, to support those who are not able to support themselves. The organization was able to help 2 young people go to college and get their college degree to come back to their village to, you got a difference to dent abject poverty where it is, and that with education and taking action.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
I love that. I just love who you be as you're talking about your passion, and it's just all there. So for the listening audience, if they would love to contribute, and I'll ask, like, what do you at this point, where can they name of the organization, and do you have a link that you share with me that I will put into the show notes as well with your contact information, so anybody who wants to reach out to you can see it there and support as well if they feel so inclined.
Yes, absolutely. I have a book called Reignite, and I could send you that link as well. And we also have bread and soup with Zelle. So if anybody wants to contribute, they contribute, and soup at gmail.com through Zelle. And right now we have
Is that the name of your
the
organization?
organization initially was Bread and Soup, and people thought it was Soup Kitchen. So I got give a different name that says Beacon of Blessings. So it's Bread and Soup, doing business as Beacon of Blessing, and we have a website, and they could go there and give a donation at the website as well.
And what is the website?
Beaconofblessing.org.
.org. Okay, perfect. That will be in the show notes because this is also shown. It's live video on YouTube and it's audio on some of the other platforms. So this way
Yes.
we'll make sure. And again, all the contact information for Dr.
Yes.
Pat Barringer will be in the show notes. So make sure you check that out and check her out and check out up too. I mean, I just so amazing that there are not enough of us in the world that are willing to take that extra step and create an action. As a result, for the listening audience, just who are looking to awaken their potential within them, what was the experience of all of a sudden you get this dream, you have this dream, and you have an inspired action to take, and you took it. You created a concert to raise funds for that. What was the experience of that? Well, what was the experience? And when it was all said and done, what was that experience?
So when I told my husband that I wanted to do a concert because I wanted to, he said, that's a big job. And when I didn't see it as a big job. As a matter of fact, I just saw it as something that I had to do. And I felt like a stab, in my, vibrated all over my body. And then I said, I am going to do it anyway. So I started to ask different people if they could come, like there's a choir Woman had a choir and she wanted $1,000 from. So I got the place. I got this man to help me find a place. I had to pay for that place, and then I had to get us an agenda together, and I got the agenda together asking one woman to was a singer in the Caribbean, so I had to pay her, and I had to pay this choir, and I had to pay the down payment for the choir before she would even agree. And then I thought now that I'll be able to sell tickets, but people wasn't really buying the tickets. They weren't really coming because it's just I'm just trying to do this. So I paid her that money, and when I noticed that I wasn't getting the tickets sold as fast and as amount to pay her the rest money, I asked her if she can donate the rest of the and she said no. So boom, I lost that 500 down payment. But I was able to make like 2,300 and something, and I give it to that man. And there, the feeling didn't me that I had to help these people.
Yeah.
And so I said, I churches to ask the pastors if they could support people in Africa. Pastor said to me, well, how do that you're going to give them the money? So I never thought of that. I had no idea, because if you give me the money, I know I got to get, because that's what I said I was going to do with the money. But I guess everybody's not like that. So I decided I am going to get a non-profit organization. Here again, I have to take out another $2,500 out of my own pocket to get this non-profit together. And so that's what I did. And I asked people to help me. I'll meet with certain amount of my friends. And when I have luncheons, they would help me with the luncheons. And I always even from the luncheon. So it never really, but it was enough money to send over to Africa, because the exchange is so different, So how much I got, whatever I made, I would send it over to these three people so that they could take care of the person who's going to school, and one would take care of the children who she had in an orphanage in her home, so she can have food to provide for these kids, because she had like 25 kids in her home that she would feed, and she wasn't getting any help from anybody. So I would go over in the summertime and carry all the materials, like the craft materials. I would carry over clothes that I would get for the kids that were donated, for the kids and the adults, and I would have vacation Bible school for a whole week, and then we will have a leadership conference. And that's how I supported them until just before the pandemic.
Wow, that's awesome. Why do you suppose most people don't achieve their purpose or their passions and the commitments that they tell themselves they want to do but never really fulfill on?
Well, I believe, Karen, to be honest, when I start getting the pushbacks, it depends on how you have grown up as a child as well. That could, how your parents treated you, how other adults around treated you. And sometimes people don't want to hear no when they ask for help, and some people are afraid to ask for help because they don't want to hear no. And some people feel like, am I supposed to do that? I'm not good enough to do that, or I don't have what it takes to do that, which is not true. If you yourself, you have the divine in you. And the divine created you for a purpose. And it is our responsibility to investigate who we are supposed to be on this planet. And like you said before, I agree with you 100%. We came here to be servants. Servants to each in our community. Because just like how I feel like a servant for you, I know you feel like you're a servant for me.
Absolutely.
We might not want the same things. Nevertheless, you could find a pathway that I can get that, and I could find a pathway for you to get whatever you want. Divine has placed us in position to acquire certain things so that we can apply it to our lives and build up our life and be of benefit, and also for us to share with our community. And our
Agreed.
community is not just around us in our neighborhood, it's the
Yeah.
world at large.
Absolutely. One of the things like chalk on it is that me, me, I conversation instead of the we conversation, because I believe all ships rise together. And
Yes,
that's actually biblical as well. It's spiritual.
yes,
And so many of us, especially since the pandemic, we're almost like pushed into that corner of me, I, and right. Fear is all. However, fear and love can't live in the same space at the same time.
that's right.
So it becomes a choice. Like,
Yes.
what do you really want? And when to get to it. So I just love what you've been up to, what you're doing. You mentioned for the listening audience, what was about it, if you would.
So, reignite is about wherever you are in life right now. It's okay. It's
Mhm.
okay. You always sit down and think about when you were this little girl or this little boy, what you loved in your life, that you did, that you part to activate, but happen along the way. Whether it's that the world has overtaken you, or your family too busy. You might be a caretaker for somebody, and that dream and that vision that you had within you no longer have the bright, and you put it aside. Now is a good time to reignite that flame and start fanning that fire. And when you do that, you will you'll become enlivened.
That's yep, absolutely. I know some of the listeners, I mean, I was years ago, the fear would just overtake me from doing anything until
Yes.
I really got present to my why. All of a sudden, it was like light bulbs went off, and it's been a clear beacon. I look at my why as my lighthouse, and it's been a clear beacon of light. And when I step back and start I'm a by nature, and I'm always very, very curious by nature. And when I sit back and I look at all the things that I've done, every single thing, and ironically, just about every person that's come into my life since I declared it in the beginning with
Yes.
the word, right? Everything has aligned with what I said and who I said I was going to be. And
Wow.
it's just like, wow, you know, may call me weird. I don't know if most people do that or would even contemplate doing that, but I do it for myself. And remember creating a course in 2017, and I get a lot of these downloads for me and inspired visions. And I created a course. And I didn't think it was going to be good enough. And how is it going to be received? I spent $10,000 to create that course. It sat there on the shelf. And it wasn't until recently I went back and I went, oh, I forgot about that. Completely forgot about it. And I went back and I said, it's still aligned with who I am and who I said I was going to be.
Yes.
So now's the time, right? It's all in divine order as far as I'm concerned. So it's been waiting for the perfect moment to do that. Have you had similar experiences?
Yes, absolutely. It's funny that you just said key things that I am implementing for this year. You said in the beginning was the word. I started to teach. I do a Bible study, and I started to teach on the beginning. And you have your that course shelf right there.
Mhm.
When God earth, where he said in Genesis that the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the earth. But the water was on the earth, as though when he said, "Let there be light," and the water was revealed. Yes. Now, for how many years you had that course there? That course was relevant for your audience, but
Absolutely.
you couldn't see it, and you kept it in the darkness. And now, like God decide that he's gonna open up what's there. He said, "Let there be light," and the
Exactly.
light came in. Same way with you. You
Yeah.
you became aligned with certain things. And that's another that I decided I'm gonna use for this year. As a matter of fact, I made a diary that word, so I could every day I could record in it to see what I am aligned with. So that's my every year I have a word
Me
This
too.
year, my word is alignment, and you spoke to those two words.
Never any coincidences. You know, it's
Yes,
so funny because you and I have common friends, Joe. And yesterday, Joe and I went out to the movies and we saw Prada, The Devil Wears Prada. And the word, oh, I just got the chills. My God, the word they use is everything that she is doing within the community, Tirtha, that she has created, which is a beautiful community for women. And the word was, oh God, it was her for the year. I just went, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It was her word that she created for us for the year. And I wanted to go, she's sitting next to me, and I'm like, there it is, there it is.
yes,
Me, those words, signs, symbol, a lot of signs and symbols through nature and the
yes,
words and visions and such. And when words show up for me two or three times, I know that's a message. And then I
yes,
pause and I say, what is that message? What did I ask for that I'm getting a response for and
yes.
such? And that's where, so much of, oh, that's going to bother me now that I can't remember that word.
Is
Uh,
it creativity?
no, no, it's not inspiration. It'll come to me after the call. I'll put the word
Yes,
in the show notes if I recall it, but it was
yeah,
definitely one of her big words. And
yes,
again, for me, and I don't know if this holds true for you, Dr. Pratt, I'm in your space, you're in when two or more come together. We're mirrors of each other. I see in
yes,
you what you see in me.
yes,
And I love I love if you're bringing a pearl of wisdom into my space, that message also was not just for the listening audience, but it was for Karen, me, person, to
yes,
get that as well. And I'm sure you've heard stuff today that was a reiteration of what perhaps you needed
yes,
to hear today. So that's why I love when people come in for a reason or season. They're not always here to stay. I get that now. I mean, it was I couldn't, but why? And now it's like, wow, I'm so grateful for those opportunities because
yes.
they certainly supported shaping and molding who I've become today. So
And what you just said there is so key that we are to do. A lot of people have gone through life and they have not taken note of things that slip into their life, whether through their thought life or
exactly.
just something in the
Mhm.
people they're not in tune with their so they can understand this is a message here. Pay attention to this. You saw this thing. What is that saying to me? And those are the little things that could make a big difference in your life.
Absolutely. I could go and talk to you all day, Dr. Pat. This has just been
Yes.
absolutely amazing, and I'm so grateful you're here. I always end the show with asking, what I call them pearls of wisdom. What is the pearl of wisdom, that little nugget that you'd like to leave with the listening audience before we part?
So one of the things that I like to about whether I am teaching adults or children is whatever you do today is
Mhm.
who you're going to be tomorrow. So when you get opportunities coming before you, make the most of it because you never know where that opportunity would take you tomorrow. So whatever you do today, whatever responsibility you're supposed to handle, don't leave it until tomorrow. Handle it today.
For our listening audience, if that and you're listening and that landed for you, trust that did for a reason. Dr. Pat, your story is such a powerful reminder that transformation does not happen all at once. It begins the
Yes.
moment we become aware and continues with those brave, I say bold, badassy because that was my one of my very first frameworks. Sassy, classy, badassy. One of the books I wrote years ago that hit number one bestseller, so I stick with that one. I look at it this way also. I don't say things to be crude or crass, but I really want people to get that we don't have to be so significant in life, that our choices can be playful. They can,
Yes.
and they don't have to be significant. So it's all about the choices we make along the way. Dr.
Yes.
Pat Barrington, Patricia Barrington, so much for your honesty, your heart, and your willingness to share this journey with us today.
Thank you, Karen. And I do appreciate you having me. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And to everyone listening, remember this, the bridge from ordinary to extraordinary are built with small steps of change. big leaps of faith. You're more powerful than you know. So keep showing up, keep rising, and awaken your potential. And if something touch moved inspired you today here, feel free to reach out to Dr. Pat or to myself. Our contact information will be in the show notes. The links for the nonprofit will be show notes as well. So do support, yeah, touching a life, a difference. And if nothing else, it really makes you feel like you're doing something. I get if worthy is the word, but it just that's what for me. So till
Yes.
then, make it an amazing day, and I look forward to seeing you on the next Awakening Potential show. Bye for now.
Bye.